and welcome to this very, very special program. Now, every year, the United Nations designates the 21st of September as International Day of Peace. And this year, the theme is Shaping Peace Together. And to talk about that, I have some very, very special guests. To my immediate right here in the studio, I have Mohamed Toure from the International Organization for Migration. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Drame.
And to my immediate left, I have Ibrahim Sambu, who is a returnee and also part of Migrants as Messengers. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, sir.
And online, joining us, I have Ami Job, who is also a returnee and also part of Migrants as Messengers. Ami, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And also online, we have Mamadou Sarr, who is from the National Association for Gambian UNESCO Clubs and Centers. Mamadou, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all to my guests. Now, to go through, we have quite a lot to try and get through in an hour, but we'll try. So we'll be looking at the theme. As I said, the theme is Shaping Peace Together. We'll talk about what does peace mean, and we'll also talk about stigma, particularly around returnees and what that means. So I guess really I should start with you, Mohamed Toure. In your own words, when one says peace, what's the meaning for you?
Thank you, Mr. Drame, and thank you for having us. The concept of peace goes beyond the absence of war. Peace can mean dignity and well-being for all. Peace can mean access to essential services, access to healthcare, access to quality education, protection services for the vulnerable groups. So peace in entirety is very important for development.
Sure.
Without peace, developmental agenda can be at hold. So this day is very, very important for us. This is a very important day. It was established in 1981 by the UN General Assembly, and then it was established to strengthen the ideals of sustaining peace. And also in 2001, it was unanimously voted to be a specific day for dedicated for ceasefire and the absence of violence.
Sure, thank you for that. And now, Mamadou, I wasn't even aware that there was something like sort of Gambian UNESCO clubs and centers. I just wondered if you could tell us something about that and something about the work that you do.
Thank you so much. Of course, to my colleagues on the panel. Well, the National Federation of the Gambia UNESCO Clubs and Centers is this is the youthful level of UNESCO in this country. We are autonomous as an entity that actually works in line with the ideals of UNESCO. And in the Gambia, we are dealing with the auspicious Commission of Gambia, and we were looking at education, science, and to actually propagate peace, sustain peace in our country. To be the country that you go, they have clubs across the entire globe.
Sure.
And we have a world federation. We also have a regional federation.
Mamadou, yeah. If I could just stop you, we're having some problems with your.
But for the National Federation of the Gambia, we specifically look.
Sure. We're having some problems with your sound there. It's far from perfect. So we'll see if we can fix those. But if I could also come to you, because Ibrahim Sambu, to my immediate left here, I mean, we're talking about International Day of Peace, but also we're talking about returnees. And we're also talking about everything these days has been impacted by COVID. And that's not. But before we get into that, I just wondered if you don't mind telling the viewers about some of your experience. And if I could just be nosy for a minute, what was it that made you want to leave the country in the first place?
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for having me here into this program. I am very glad to be here, and it's also very important that I am here as a migrant also to share my experience. For my own issue, why I left this country was through peer pressure. Peer pressure, yeah. It wasn't like things were hard on me here in this country, or no, because I was a teacher teaching.
Okay.
So, and then I have friends who I was with at the college.
Sure.
So most of them tried the journey, and they went successfully, and then were able to find themselves in Europe.
So in that you mean peer pressure in that sense?
Yeah.
Because some of them made it and
so
made it
they
successfully.
keep calling me, some I can to try to, because when most of them left, they found themselves in one of the universities in Europe. So they decided to call me and then keep calling me, some I can to come and join us too. So this is how I just also left.
Okay.
So
okay. Thanks
but
for
unfortunately I came back home.
Okay, thanks. We'll get on to that.
Okay.
And now if I could go to you, Ami. Ami, just wondered if you could also just share with, you're also a returnee, and I just wondered whether you could share with our viewers your own experience. And I ask you the same question, why did you leave?
Well, thank you very much. It will be a pleasure to share my experience and my journey. I am a survivor of human trafficking. I was trafficked by an immigration in the Gambia. Well, I can say the first thing that motivated me to leave was trust, because the immigration officer happened to be a person that I trusted so much. Yeah, so he had to tell me that there are job opportunities out there that you can go make a better living and lots of money, and every month you'll be paid $450. So $450 equivalent to the money that we have here. So if you happen to plan it well, it's a big achievement, and life will be whole, and you can start life fresh.
Sure. Okay.
So thinking of that, it was a motivational that have to me to go on this journey.
Okay, thanks for that, Ami. Thank you. Now, Mohammed, if I can come back to you, the theme this year, as we've said, is shaping peace together. Why has that been chosen as the theme?
As the theme goes, shaping peace together, the world is currently facing one of the difficult pandemics we had ever in history, the COVID-19 pandemic.
Sure.
So one thing I learned from this pandemic is that we can only fight this virus together. We can only fight this virus together. This day has been dedicated for a day we remind ourselves to commit ourselves to peace, share compassion and love, and also hope, share hope for especially vulnerable people.
Sure.
So since the starting of the pandemic, I take you back to history when the Gambia registered its first case.
Sure.
If you were very observant, you will see that no one was coughing in the cars anymore. No one was sneezing anymore.
Sure.
So there were already fingers being pointed to people.
Yes.
So people were scared. And naturally, and people are naturally scared of what they don't know. So people were already taking their fear and anxiety and pointing it to others. So, and we always hear people saying that this virus has no legs. The virus has no legs. People are the one carrying from one place to another. So you see that migrants and travelers saw themselves in the middle of it. Already, they are already stereotyped. They are already identified as potential carriers of the virus. So shaping peace together, it is a day that we urge ourselves to protect people that are carrying the virus, because they will be discriminated against, and we call on everybody individually to be people that are willing to protect ourselves and protect the people around us.
Sure.
So this is a day that we have to come together and fight the virus together and share compassion and also be there for everyone that needs our help.
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks for that, Mohammed. Ami, if I could come to you, both you and Ibrahim have told us about your experience of going. And I just wondered if you could tell us about your return. How were you received by family and friends? What was the reception like? Ami?
Well, it was the toughest thing I could say, because as we all know, in our country, what we believe is a person that travels comes back with a lot of things, or well, so much is expected in you. But in this case, it's different. It's a person that has been, so it's a person that has been deceived, that has traveled, and her expectations were not been made.
Well, not met.
So coming back home, people expected a lot from you. So what they see,
Yes, carry on.
So what they expect and what happens to be the reality is far different. So there are a lot of difficulties in that.
Okay, thanks for that. I mean, I can see that this is still obviously quite an emotional
The
thing.
stigma, the discrimination.
Sure. Okay, thank you for that. Ibrahim, what was your experience before I go to Mamadou about stigma? What was yours?
It's just like Amit said, it wasn't easy with me myself because I spent almost 2 years, 2 months down there outside, and then when I came, most of my friends were looking at me as a failure.
Right.
Yeah, that's what most of them were saying. So what they do tell me is like, you were here doing good, now you went, for the past 2 years, you couldn't send your parents anything, you came home emptily, so you were even given a free flight to the Gambia. So these are things that I was hearing, and it wasn't also easy with my family because when I came, most of them were blaming me that, so I wouldn't have left.
Because
so
they too had expectations.
Yeah,
as well.
good. So they thought that, I would have come home with a lot of things like gifts and whatever.
Sure.
So, and I came with empty hands.
Sure.
So most of them were not friendly anyway.
Oh, that's sorry.
But later on, when I started to do some little work with the IOM, Alhamdulillah, when I received my reintegration from the IOM, so I think now I'm not feeling any more stigma and discrimination, because it seems like the whole family is coming back in me, because the IOM makes sure that I establish well now.
Right.
So I am doing my business, I am doing something else also, Alhamdulillah.
Okay.
Far better than, in fact, when I was a teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was the help of the IOM.
Good to hear that. Now, Mamadou, I hope we've got a better sound this time, because I want to come to a very important point that's kind of been touched on by both, in fact, more than touched on by both Ibrahima and by Ami, and that's to do with stigma. We keep hearing this word about stigma and how people who come back, actually, rather than being immediately embraced, initially there's a stigma about returning. I mean, as far as you're concerned, what does that mean when you hear the word stigma?
Well, thank you very much once again. I hope this time it goes well. Yeah, so when we talk of stigma, it's more of giving negative attribute to a certain individual or a group of people. Unfortunately, though, most of the people that are perpetrators of stigma to people don't really understand the dynamics or what exactly it means. A lot of people will do it blindly, and that actually inflicts a lot of pain to the people that it is imposed on or it is put on. So I think looking at the issue of migrants and of course the returnees that are coming back, I know friends that have gone through this and they have had serious situations with them being stigmatized in the community, all of that, which is something I think it's about being ignorant of the knowledge that someone that actually goes out to make ends meet and actually return back should be actually welcomed home, should be supported. Of course, which is IOM is actually doing a very, very important job in this country and of course across the world.
Sure.
For returning back, so they can actually be people that can also contribute their quota to development. And today, just look at my colleagues on the panel, they are all really doing a lot more good things for their families, for their communities, and of course to the country as a whole. So the issue of stigma should definitely be coped off in the Gambia.
Thank you for that. Now, if I can come to you, Mohammed. Yes. We've heard about stigma. We just heard there a very good summation of it by Mamadou. Now, what's the IOM doing to actually combat the stigmatization and discrimination that returnees almost inevitably face when they come back?
Yeah, you see, we are dealing with a very vulnerable population. Migrants come home with a lot of guilt. Some come home with anger. Sure. Some come home with self-blame, and they come back to families. And then there is a lot of scenarios that happen when they come, then they return from their various countries. So you see, some already took loans before going.
Sure.
Some sold their family compounds before going. Some were already in loggerheads with their workplaces before they left.
Yeah.
So, and that was the study, the Conflict for Development Analysis report in 2019 has identified the perception towards returnees as a potential driver of conflict. So it's very important for the matter of stigma and discrimination to be addressed.
Sure.
So I am a part of their reintegration assistance. They have, we treat them holistically. So we, apart from their socio-economic reintegration, we also take care of their medical needs and their mental and psychosocial needs.
Sure.
So we are looking at the whole package here. So one, we need to individually, we need to look at the migrant and try to build their resilience.
Sure.
We need to prepare the families and their communities to be able to receive the migrants when they come home. So, and then you will see that some families, when they migrate, you will see some migrants when they come, you will interview them, they will tell you, I'd rather go back to the desert than meet my family.
Really?
On the natural tendency, you have been away for 2 to 3 years. All you want to do is be back to their family. But then these migrants will say, I'd rather go back to the desert than come back to their family.
Sure.
You go back there after 2 to 3 weeks, the migrant will be facing some emotional outbursts, and the families will be saying, he's just ill-mannered. So you see that there is a lot of work to be done here.
Do you ever get instances where a migrant returns and then says, look, I've come to the IOM, can you help me? I don't feel I'm being accepted by my own family or my own community. Can you help me move somewhere else? Do you get instances like that?
Yeah, we get so many instances like that when migrants are reluctant to go back to their families. So we have a lot of reintegration projects.
Sure.
We have an AVRR project that takes care of their economic and economic needs.
Sure.
And then we also, the same project is also serving their medical and psychosocial needs. But we have the UN Peace Building Fund, which complements that project, which is geared to changing the perception of returnees by their family members and community members. So we are engaged in one capacity building.
Sure.
So we need to prepare the ground before they arrive.
Sure.
So that's why we engage in various capacity building exercises by key actors, community leaders, community health workers, and mental health and psychosocial support providers. So we train them in a way they will be able to receive these migrants when they arrive. That is when they are checked upon for their services.
Sure.
Secondly, we go out into the communities on a medical caravan. So we name it a medical caravan. We don't specifically say it's a mental health and psychosocial caravan.
Right.
Because if you do that, we will be the ones already perpetuating the stigma. So we just say anyone with medical needs, you can come over.
Sure.
And then we open it up to migrants and their family members and their community members. Because if we want to say only migrants can come, the communities will say that we are prioritizing, giving special emphasis to migrants, or we are even rewarding their behavior of taking the illegal route. So we open the health caravans to the whole community and their family members. So when they arrive, before they start, we engage in awareness raising. We share information, education, and communication materials. And then the info sessions are, to me, are one of the most important sessions. Because some people, they have medical or mental and psychosocial needs. But one, they don't know that the services are available there.
Right.
Secondly, there is a lot of misinformation. They think that those services never, those needs never go away. They think that mentally ill patients never recover. So they tend to stay at home and treat it in another way than go to seek conventional treatment. So during these information sessions, we make these things clear. We set the trend for referral. So with those things, we have clinicians with IM personnel that are there at the health caravan. So we try to see them and treat them based on their needs. So how do we combat stigma? One is individually we concentrate on the migrant to build their resilience. And then behavioral change, communication, awareness raising efforts, we engage community leaders, we focus on focus group discussions, community leaders, alcalos, ward councillors. So these are all key actors that can change a cause within their societies. Understand? So earlier when I started, I said people are naturally scared of what they don't know. But the moment you communicate with them, this can change their perception towards returnees. So basically, those are the few things we are doing. There's a lot going on already. You can see that there's a lot of need. And institutionally also, we are trying to help institutions like Tanka Psychiatric Hospital. It's the only psychiatric inpatient unit. So we are trying to work towards infrastructural capacity, infrastructural development. We also look at staff development. Right now, we are planning a lot of capacity building exercises to increase the capacity of the staff there so that they can receive these migrants in a way that will not be discriminated to them once more, and in a way that will serve their needs vis-a-vis the other patients around.
Okay, thanks for
Yeah.
that. Now, Ami, if I could come back to you. I mean, for myself, and I think for most people, when we talk, we're talking in an abstract way about stigma, about reception or rejection by a community. And you started to touch upon this, and it became quite emotional. So I just wondered, from the psychological point of view, if you could just tell us what it meant to you coming back, the reception you got. Because perhaps your immediate family might have welcomed you back, but perhaps the wider community did not. And I just wondered if you could tell us, because for most people this is an abstract thing, but you are somebody who went through it. And I just wondered if you could just tell us what it was like coming back, the first few days, first few weeks, or the first few months. What was it like?
Well, actually, it was really hard, but I had to believe and stand strong, because if you happen to leave your country for things that you went for, and your expectations were not meant, or what you expected isn't seen. So you have to feel proud to come back to the country that you left. So this is our country. Even if you happen to feel rejected or people rejected you, it's your own country. You have to make it strong or stand firm to to feel that people still
Yes, still value you. If I could come, thank you, Ami. Ibrahim, again, same
people
question.
accepted you the way they have to accept you. So
okay.
if you feel that people rejected you,
Carry on. I think there's a delay in the line, but carry on, please, Ami. I don't know. Let me come to Ibrahim.
so if you feel that you are rejected and you say that I am rejected, I have to be.
Yeah. Okay. Let me come. I think there's a problem
I
there.
no
You might
longer feel in society because I am rejected. Then you won't make it.
Okay. Thank you for that. Let me come to Ibrahim. Ibrahim, same question to you, really.
Yeah, it wasn't also easy with me when I came home, no, because when I feel like I wasn't welcomed well as usual. So what I did was, when I came during the first week, I was in my house all alone.
Sure.
So I only come out when I want to eat food.
Right.
All alone, yeah, I'm inside the house. So people called, friend come to see me. My other relatives also will come to see me. But when they come to me, the way they just greet, and then the way they look at me, they sometimes I feel like, I'm even not part of the family.
Right.
So once they come to greet, some will greet you, but later on you'll hear other petty talks on that, So I got stressed anyway. Later on I left the house. That was in Basse.
Right.
So I left the house. I came to the Combos here, whereby I stay with a friend.
Right.
I have my relatives around here, but I have to go and stay with a friend at Werengara. So with him, I was at least a bit relieved, because he tried his level best to calm me down, always talking to me, keep me engaged. He has a shop. He take me to his shop. He keep me engaged, He talks to me, Sometimes when I sit, I just used to feel like I'm not even in the world.
Okay.
So then he used to call me, and then he just hit me. Hey, Sabu, what is wrong with you? You're thinking too much. You have to be very careful, otherwise you'll get mad.
Right.
He said to me, why can't you take your papers again and then go to the field again and then teach? But then I feel like the way I am now, if I am to stand in the class and say I will teach students, it's not going to be easy with me.
Sure.
So I just need someone to keep me calm.
Sure.
So I really have stress, and then I was very short-tempered, and I was very friendly to kids and to everyone. But during those days, even kids don't come close to me.
Okay. Now you are wearing a T-shirt that says "Migrants as Messenger Volunteers." So how did you link up with the IOM, and what's that been along your journey?
So is where I was coming. So during this stress period, so when I started to link with the IOM, so they called me to go to their office, I went.
Were you aware of them, or did somebody put
I
you in
was
touch?
aware of them.
Okay, right.
They brought me back to this country.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
okay.
voluntarily.
Uh-huh.
So when I start to go to their office to mingle with the IOM staffs,
Mhm.
so it's when I start to come down.
Okay.
Because whenever I am called there, so I'm always cancelled.
Sure.
I always used to sit with one IOM staff. Then there was one white lady called Nuria, who always called me in her office. You know, she will call me. She will, you know, entertain me,
Okay.
encourage me, and tell me that you are not a failure. If you said people are calling a failure, you are not a failure.
Right.
You know, so once there is life, you know, there is still something waiting for you down there. This is what Nuria kept telling me. So, and then she said, don't worry, you know, the IOM is coming up with a package.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you receive that package somewhere, I know if you go into something, you'll become a better person. So these are things that I keep hearing from the IOM. You know, they keep calling me all the time, calm me down, you know, give me some counseling. So I decided to go down.
And calm.
Yeah. So every time I go to the IOM, if we sit and have some time with them, later I go back home and meet my friend. So until one day I was called in the office. When I came, less than 2 months, I was called in the office. And then I was told that I have a reintegration package.
Right. Okay. And what did that consist of?
Money for me to have a grocery shop. Because when they ask me, what do you want to go in for now?
Right.
Do you want to go back to the field and teach? Or do you want to go to the university, or you want to go to the college? But I tell them that now I want to go in for business.
Right.
So they giving me some funds, whereby I have my own grocery shop.
Okay.
So I'm there with my wife. We're doing our business. We're select.
Okay.
So this is when I started that business. Is when I'm become a normal individual again.
You found peace.
No more stress. You know, I don't feel any more stigma.
Sure.
You know, I don't feel any more discrimination. I am back, rechanneled back with my friends and families. So
Wonderful.
Because
Wonderful.
the business that I am doing on now, yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. Mahmoudou, I hope you heard all of that, because I wanted to come to you regarding your own federation and really to ask you a very pointed question, because Ibrahim has just told us there about how eventually he found peace. But what is your federation doing about promoting peace within the Gambia? Because some of it is about resettling people, and some of these people might have been people who've returned back and been tested positive for COVID. So what is your federation doing about promoting peace within the Gambia?
Thank you very much. With the National Federation, we have clubs and committees, and we basically have around 54 UNESCO clubs and centers across the country. We also have committed one in Oman, and also we have 2 educational resource centers. Now, this station is where we use to inform people about peace and how people can live like in that coexistence. Now, each of the clubs that we have become, most of the time, in fact, I remember when I was in Jansoma, we had this case of one of the returnees that was part of the team that we have as a UNESCO. And part of what we do was to make sure that we inform people of like how well do we propagate peace in our country. How do we, because just like my colleagues said before we started, there is no peace if we cannot find real good food to eat. There is no peace if we ecologically farm ourselves. And
I think we're still having problems with your connection, Mahmoudou. So let me come back to Mohammed in the studio. Apologies for that, but I think it's quite difficult to hear. It's breaking up quite badly. And really, if we go to the day itself, what other activities and programs is IOM intending to carry out to commemorate International Day of Peace?
Okay, before I move forward to the question,
Sure.
looking at the theme again, shaping peace together.
Sure.
Since the beginning, since we had our first COVID-19 case, because this is a day we want to stand against people using the virus to discriminate against others, especially people who were infected or families of infected patients. You can remember there was a time when there was a family that was attacked in the Upper River region.
It went, yes,
Yeah.
it was carried everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and we all know the Gambia has been known to be a very beautiful social system. We used to have a very beautiful social system.
Sure.
You'll see when one family will have maybe a funeral, and someone will come all the way from URL to come to the Greater Banjul area to mourn with them, sympathize with them until the family is stable enough and they will go back.
Sure.
In other parts of the world, you have to pay to have those kind of services. And these are the things that we are still advocating for. Shaping peace together, we need to support each other, we need to be there for each other. We used to be in a way wherein we share our moments of joy,
Sure.
and we share equally our moments of sadness.
Sure.
So on this note, we are going to be engaged in several focus group discussions at the, with community members, with alcalos, with village health workers, and the Migrants as Messengers project. These volunteers are going all the way around the country
Sure.
to spread information and tackle all misconceptions we have about this COVID-19. Secondly, there is going to be a lot of radio sensitization, a lot of video tutorials are being made by the Migrants as Messengers, and they will be shared with the public.
Sure.
So this is ongoing. This is a day of dialogue. It's a day of getting information from people. It's a day that we show compassion to each other.
Sure.
So it is over-ended. This is a day, we recognize the day, but this is something that has to continue within all of us, because we can never have peace when we don't take it upon ourselves to ensure we protect peace.
Sure.
Thank
you for that, Mohammed.
Yeah.
If I could come back to you, Barima, you gave us a very eloquent explanation there of your journey so far, and I pointed to the T-shirt, Migrants as Messenger Volunteers. So particularly during COVID-19, we're talking about social distancing and so on, but there are lots of other messages that you have to carry as Migrants as Messengers. So what are those messages that you're carrying during COVID-19?
First of all, like I said in the beginning, it is the IOM that came up with this idea, like Migrants as Messengers. It's a project.
Sure.
Then they call us as returnees, those of us that are returnees, who will want to partake in it. So when we came, we were up to 50. We have 50 volunteers who are part of this program.
Sure.
And then initially, when we were trained, it was all about going around the country to sensitize people on migration.
Sure.
So when we were about to start the activity, then this COVID came in, COVID-19 came in. So the IOM have to shift it also to COVID-19, because of they have seen that COVID-19 too is causing migration.
Sure.
So they decided to say, wow, so now the team, we're going to train you on COVID-19 again. So we want you to go back to the community, and then you sensitize them on the precautions. So we had a training. 50 of us would have been trained, but only 20 were trained due to this social distancing. So we'll be trained 20 by 20. But recently we are only trained 20 that are trained.
Right.
And then we at this present moment we have radio programs that we are doing.
Okay.
So we have one at Q Radio and another program at Tranga.
Okay.
We are trying to talk to the people
Sure.
pertaining to the precautions. And then the last month also we have joined program with the Carnifing Youth Association of KMC,
right,
with us as Migrants as Messengers. We have a sensitization within the Carnifing municipality. We went house to house sensitization, and then thirdly too, we have our digital mode of sensitization, whereby us as Migrants and Messengers, we do come up with videos whereby we'll show people how to prevent themselves from this COVID-19.
Sure.
So that is the signs of coughing, sneezing, how to wash your hand, social distance. We've provided all these videos there on our Facebook.
Sure.
That's the IOM. So we try to share with people, and it is also with us that we send to our friends, we share. At this present moment, this is what we are doing pertaining to the COVID-19.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Ami, if I could come back to you, and let's hope, I know there's a bit of a delay in when you're hearing me and when you speak, but I hope it's better this time. And I just wondered, again with Migrants as Messengers, what's your experience been in when you've taken the message, in how that message has been received, particularly around this time of COVID-19? Ami, did you hear me? I think there's a delay there. I don't know whether Ami can hear me at all. If I could come back to you. Yes, Mohammed, if I could come back to you. We've heard there from Ibrahima about migrants as messengers. What actually was it that prompted IOM to actually come up with this particular project? Why this one?
Yeah, the migrants as messengers. You know, at the starting, I told you people are naturally scared of what they don't know.
Sure.
And in looking at our population, and you look at our population of youths, from 2016 up to now, I am assisted in the voluntary return of over 5,000 migrants. These are 5,000 practically youths. That means there is a high percentage of our youth that are opting for irregular migration or migration via irregular routes. So it's still an option for them. So there is a lot of dangers associated with irregular migration. You know, we are not saying that people should not migrate, because migration has been in existence since the starting of humanity. So we are trying to promote better options of migrating. We migrate in dignity, and you are protected during your journey. It's a better option, because if you talk to these migrants, what they experience during the journey, sometimes practically we are providing services, but when we hear these stories, it gets to us. So there is a need for someone out there to go and tell his or her own story.
Sure.
I can say based on the experience shared with me, but he will be able to tell his story because he's the one that actually faced the challenges. He saw right hand. And I tell you one thing, for Gambians, naturally, when was the last time we heard the sound of a gun when it's not Independence Day? So you see, we have been in that environment wherein everything is peaceful. So all of a sudden, you are a migrant, you find yourself in the middle of Libya, in the middle of a war zone. You pass dead bodies and hear gunshots every day. These are experiences that no matter how strong you are, when you come back home, at some point it will get to you. So we are just trying to protect these potential migrants. So these migrants are going out there to talk to the public, remind themselves and remind the public about the dangers associated with the irregular route. So especially at this time, with the COVID-19 pandemic, the irregular, the Central Mediterranean route, it's a particularly no-go area. Migrants are already stranded in certain countries, and they cannot even come back home due to travel restrictions. So there is a very high need to go out there and talk to the public, to consider other options of migrating. So it's very important for this project to be established, and so that they will go out there and get to the people.
Okay, and now in terms of International Day of Peace, really I have to come to you, Mamadou, because what's this all about? It's one day of peace. How is that going to contribute to people's well-being and sense of well-being? Mamadou, I hope you can hear me. And I just wondered if I could put that to you. We're about to close because we're running out of time. Always time is the enemy. But Mamadou, one day about International Day of Peace, how does that contribute to people's well-being? Okay, I think the line has dropped there. And if I could ask you that question, Ibrahima, International Day of Peace, and how does that contribute, and the work that you're contributing, and do you feel you're making a difference?
Yeah, we really make it a difference, because I think promoted peace is very, very important, because really, like my brother just said, most of these migrants now at this present moment are suffering. So because those of us in the organization, we have an organization here called YEM, Youth Against Irregular Migration. We still used to communicate with some migrants. So they always used to complain to us that now where they are, there is no peace. So once there is no peace, means they're suffering. So most of them, they are in the prisons. Most of them are just, like my brother said, stranded. They wanted to come home. So they couldn't, just because of this border closure due to the COVID-19 issue. So it's really affecting migration. It is also affecting migrants too. So I think peace is very, very important. It's good that we really talk about peace. But for us, we are trying to do our level best to see how we can promote peace with migrants and messengers, because of on this COVID-19, our desensitization that we are doing. So we always talk about peace. So among ourselves, within the community, that it is very, very important.
Thank you for that. Now, Ami, if I could just have a final word from you, International Day of Peace and migrants for messengers, as messengers, what does it mean for you? A final word from you, Ami. So, Ami, the message that you're taking around the country and to communities, what does this particular day mean for you? I hope you can hear me.
Well, it's
Yeah, go on. Yeah, Ami, we could hear you. We could hear you. Keep talking. Yeah, I think.
you well. It really means a lot to me. Around meeting different people, sharing my experience, really relieve the stress that I have, and it gives me a peace of mind.
Okay.
Knowing that a lot of people out there are willing to listen to you, to share your messages, or to share the experience that you have.
Thank you for that, Ami. Thank you. Mohammed, I guess it's really time almost to wrap it up now. And I guess IOM, you're very much leading on this. And I just wonder if I could hear some last words from you, messages that you want to get out to the public. We've heard about stigma. We've heard about all sorts of things. We've heard about why this particular program project was instituted. But about the day itself, if you could just wrap it, encapsulate for us what it's all about.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Drame. Peace in general, for the whole public, being a migrant or not, without peace, you see a lot of inequalities.
Sure.
So many developmental agendas are put on hold. You see a lot of needs within communities and within the country in general. So it's very important for all of us to strive towards sustaining peace. And as I said earlier on, it starts with an individual effort.
Sure.
We all need to try and protect the peace around us. We need to try and protect the peace around us, and we need to be there for each other no matter what. Sure. Because it all starts when we start caring about ourselves and the people around us. Sure. The moment we start sharing hope, we start sharing compassion, we start sharing kindness, then the peace will be protected. Sure. So those are my last words. Let's all be a brother's keeper. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I might come back to you, so maybe not quite some last words, but I'm glad you've kind of summed up that for us. We've had some technical difficulties, I think most viewers would have realized, with the people that we've tried to reach on the phone. And so really back to you in the studio. You've talked about, what you're doing during this pandemic, and you've talked about what it's done for you psychologically, but also if you, I guess part of what you do in terms of the message that you give us migrants as messengers, how do you target where it is you go and give the message, and how do you structure it? I wonder if you could just set that out for the viewers so they know how you go about doing exactly what you're doing. You've talked about the radio program on Q Radio and on another radio station, but beyond that, what's about feedback? How do you monitor that? How do you capture that? Those sorts of things people might be interested in.
Yeah, we've really not finding it easy with some people, most especially, like I said, when we did that house-to-house sensitization with the youths of KMC, it wasn't easy with us, because when sometimes we go into a household, we will find someone who will tell us that there is no COVID-19, so I would not even want you people to talk to us. So while we be talking, they will not even be listening. So we've come across that. So you understand, and then on the street too, we have masks that we were to distribute. The IOM provided masks that we were to distribute. So we will meet people that doesn't even have a mask. We want to give them a mask. They will tell us no. Correct. We just don't need this. But also we do meet people whom that they really distance and are very, very interested, and then they do thank us that we keep it up. What you people are doing is important. So I think we've been doing well anyway. Okay. So also sometimes too on our radio programs, so people do call and contribute well, and then some people also do call and then give some challenges. So we just used to understand that people are different. Some people might listen and others might not listen, but with all that, so we do control it well. So we don't have problem with any other person. We just balance it up, so and make sure that we just give the information that we should give out.
Sure.
So these are things that we do.
Thank you for that. Now, if I could come to you again, Mohammed, on a kind of more general note about what the IOM does. In terms of the work that you've described, you must work with other organizations, with other bodies. If you could just explain some of those bodies and how it is you all work together to achieve what you achieve.
Thank you. Mostly we are trying to complement the great efforts of the government. So the government of the Gambia takes the lead in everything we are doing.
Sure.
And in fact, their priorities are the needs we foresee,
Sure.
and those are the things we act on. So let me center it, because there's a lot of projects going on at IOM, but let me specify it to the COVID pandemic and what we are doing. We working directly with the Minister of Health, specifically the Directorate of Health Promotion,
Sure.
and the Risk Communication and Community Engagement Subcommittee, to go out there and identify the misinformation that is going on in public and try to rectify those misinformation. We work with Ministry of Interior and various key stakeholders from the government of Gambia and try to rectify the various inequalities going on.
Sure.
So just to give an example, right now there's a lot of standard Gambians out there, just like any other country.
Sure.
They try to have a voluntary return of their citizens that are stranded in other countries.
Sure.
Some even went further to bring students that are stranded in other countries.
That's correct.
So there is a tendency that of course there are Gambians stranded in other countries. So when it is dark and it's night time, everybody wants to go back home. So Gambians are stranded out there, and they will need to come back home to regain their assistance,
Sure.
to regain things that they are entitled to get the support of their family,
Sure.
to get the support of their friends. So there is a tendency that Gambians are willing to come home, and they might be coming home at some point in time. So it's very important to continue preparing the ground, because as I mentioned earlier on, the conflict and development analysis report identified what we see migrants to be in their communities as a potential driver of conflict.
Of course.
So the stigma and discrimination migrants will face when they come home, it might not be very helpful in sustaining peace.
Because particularly this year, I mean, the theme, shaping peace together.
Exactly.
That directly links into what exactly you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
So there's a lot of work to be done here. We need to prepare the grounds. When migrants arrive, most likely these migrants will be coming home with negative test results.
Sure.
So they should not be pointing fingers at them. When the Gambia had this first case, everybody was pointing fingers. Why will she come to the Gambia?
Yeah,
Why won't she stay where she was?
Sure.
But she's from the Gambia. She has to come back.
Sure.
So the best way forward is to support each other, not trying to play the blame game. So there will be returnees coming home. So we need to prepare the ground to ensure when they come back home, so many things are laid for. And then the discussion earlier on, when we talked about the different packages we give to migrants.
Yeah.
Some migrants come home to shattered hopes.
Sure.
They come home to shattered hopes from the migrant side and from the family side.
Sure.
So there is a lot of communication to be done between families, mediation efforts between families and community members and the migrant, to be specific.
Sure.
So we cannot do all these things alone. There are community structures that we have to go through. We have to work with community development. We have to work with the religious and traditional healers.
Sure. We
We have to work with certain CBOs. We have to work with other UN agencies to ensure all these things are being sorted out. So we are not working single-handedly, but we are trying to complement what the government is doing, and we work together with all other developmental partners.
Sure. Thanks for
Thank
that. Ibrahim, if I can go
Yes,
back to you. Somebody looking and listening to you, you're obviously a beneficiary of the work that the IOM is doing. If there were messages that you had to give out to individuals, because I'm always concerned and I always wonder whether this message reaches out to schools, colleges, universities, and so on. I just wondered whether you can touch on that in terms of your outreach work that you've described that you're doing, because those seem to be the most vulnerable and the ones who, a lot of them are thinking of being the next, because you yourself, you were a teacher. There are people at university who we've all heard about who've made this journey. So I just wondered, in terms of your outreach work, do you do any of that?
Yeah, I really did, because like I said, when we came, I was part of an organization called YEM, that's Youth Against Irregular Migration.
Right.
So we are all returnees.
Right.
Those that are in the group, in that association, all of us are returnees. So we have a project with the German councillor. I can remember that was 2016
Right.
to 17 and 18. So we were to go to all the regions
Right,
to
okay.
sensitize the people on irregular migration. So we did that. We went to schools too. So what I am going to advise every youth here is like, to me, what I've experienced in this journey, it was horrible.
Sure.
So if I am to advise any youth in this country, what I will tell you is don't try the back way.
Sure.
It's not the good way. So if you have money, spend the money on a business,
Sure.
or you spend it on something useful, but not to embark on this journey.
Okay.
Because I spent $110,000 just to reach Europe. I was not able to reach Europe. Having been, I used that $110,000. I left this country 2015. Having been, I put that money into business. From 2015 to date, I would have been as rich as Mohammed Jah. Is that not true? So, but then, you know, I don't have anybody around me who is there to advise me.
Sure.
So Ibrahim, don't go in for this. Use this money for that, for this.
So in terms of the theme for this year, International Day of Peace, shaping peace together, I guess what you're talking about exactly also links into that.
Yeah, it really links into
Sure.
it. It really links into it because of, like, if there was peace, I would have not left this country because I feel like there wasn't peace with me.
Sure.
So I wasn't comfortable with what I have. I wasn't comfortable with life. I wasn't comfortable with the economy.
Sure.
You know, though I decided to say, wow, what my friend said is true. Let me just also embark on the back way, because I really wanted to go to university then. I want to further my education, already.
Sure.
But I feel like I could not have access to those. So I feel like I am not really comfortable during those days. So I decided to say, wow, what my friend said is true. Let me also embark on the journey.
Sure.
Then I have the money. So I decided to withdraw everything, put it in my pocket and said, wow. But unfortunately, it wasn't.
Sure.
I only spent 6 months inside Libya with my freedom on it. But the remaining 13 months, all I was in prison with hard labor. Yeah, because I was caught on the seaside. So I was then picked by the, I don't know, they call them police, I don't know. Because then Libya, you don't know who is a police and who is not a police.
Quite.
So we were just arrested and kept in one store.
Mohammed,
Yeah.
we're talking about International Day of Peace 2020, theme shaping peace together. From your experience, how has this been commemorated in previous years, this International Day of Peace?
Thank you. I joined UN Migration Agency in 2018, and then peace building has been a matter of concern for my agency and the UN in general. So there have been vigorous exercises both within the UN and in partnership with community-based organizations and other NGOs. So there had been a lot of peace platforms that have been enforced to observe this day throughout. So this year, this is how we started it, and then hopefully we are not going to stop it at the media and communication platform, but we'll go out there to the public to get the audience that might not be very focused on media and communications, but we'll go out there to engage in focus group discussions, engage the religious and traditional healers to make sure the information gets to the most vulnerable population.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the things that we hear a lot is that people say, I wasn't aware of this, aware of that. We've talked about the communications. You talked about radio stations. You talked about TV and so on. The audience. How do you reach them to make sure they get the message that you want to get? So we're nearly at the end, but I just wondered if you could just give us that.
We have different platforms.
Sure.
We have different platforms. We also have a lot of programs with your radio department, wherein we do programs in local languages. This platform, we are doing it in English, but we also have other programs in radio programs. But one of our most concentrated interventions, it's going out to the communities and meeting the people.
Sure.
Those are one of our most valued interventions.
Sure.
We go out there, meet the people, go down to their level, speak the language they understand, and then the information will flow.
Thank you for that. And I think that's a perfect way to end. So we're celebrating International Day of Peace. And I have to say a big thank you to my guests who helped us discuss. Apologies for some of the technical problems we had with sound from the people who joined us online. But here in the studio to my immediate left, Ibrahim Sambu, thank you for joining us, and thank you for some really, really good insights.
Thank you.
And to my immediate right, Mohamed Toure from IOM, thank you for that. And online earlier we had Mamadou Sarr from the Federation for Gambian UNESCO Clubs and Centres, and we also had Ami Job, who is a returnee, and the man doing the signing, Lamin, as always, doing a wonderful job. And once again, thank you for watching, and International Day of Peace, and remember, shaping peace together. We can all do it together. Thank you for watching. Goodbye for now.